Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have a friend in the studio. He is Pastor Sam Aiyedogbon. You're welcome.
Thank you, Father.
Pastor Sam Aiyedogbon is the General Overseer of the Realm of Glory Church, and he's the convener of the Catalyst for Peace and Justice, a peace and justice initiative of his church that he has that he is doing in collaboration with others, including myself. So, convener of the Realm of Glory, and
convener of Peace and Justice.
Convener
Catalyst for Peace and Justice, CPJ.
Yes, Catalyst for Peace and Justice, and General Overseer of the Realm of Glory. You are welcome to Luke's Terra, and you are welcome to our studio.
Father, thank you for having me. This has been home away from home.
Thank you very much.
And I draw strength and inspiration every time I come.
Thank you very much. Pastor Aiyedogbon is this time here along with other experts to reflect on how to end violence against women and girls. Ending violence against women and girls. And it's part of your catalyst for peace and justice.
Absolutely. It's a core aspect.
It's a core aspect to end any abuse and harmful practices.
Gender-based
violence. And so on and so forth. Great. Now, Pastor Sam, in the last few months in this country, every day you wake up and the news is about 100 students kidnapped, 50 people killed, 20 people abducted, all kinds of violence. Then it used to be, before the last 1 year, it used to be Northeast mainly. In the last 1 year, and especially the last few months, most of the Northwest, from Zamfara to Katsina to Kaduna. Kaduna State has been a war zone. Plateau State, and so on and so forth. Niger State, I mean, up as we are speaking, at this point of this interview, the children of the Islamia school in Niger State are still being held. And the person who carried, was it 30 million to go and give them in the bush, was also kidnapped. We still have some, as at the point of this recording, we still have some students of the Bethel Baptist School in captivity.
We
still have some of the university students.
Absolutely. And then the Chibok
girls. The Chibok girls, Leah Sharibu,
the
Chibok girls, and so on and so forth. So, then daily. And literally daily, not metaphorically or figuratively, daily, people are being kidnapped, people are being abducted, people are being killed. Social media is awash with horrible stories and pictures, even for those who have the courage to look at those things of violence. How, as a Christian leader, how, as a leader of Christians and churches and pastors, how are you coping? I mean, I'm sure you do hear all this. How are you coping? How are your people coping?
Yeah, Father George, thank you so much. This conversation is not about me and it's not about you, but I can't talk about how I'm coping without your factor. You are part of the way I'm coping, by providence, by divine orchestration. Because it got to a point that I crashed.
You crashed?
I crashed.
Like many of us, you know.
Yeah. And that was December specifically. After the NSIS crisis of October 2020. I couldn't sleep anymore. I couldn't eat.
You were traumatized?
Absolutely, I was traumatized. And my son was one of the organizers. He was there. And so I was just following the whole event. I didn't know it has gotten so much into me.
You.
Yeah, so I couldn't eat. So my immunity dropped, and then by December, there was no certainty I was going to survive.
So not only were you psychologically affected, emotionally affected, it was affecting you physically.
It affected my health.
So the mind-body connection began to show
perfectly. But I've been with you, and you've helped me psychologically.
Is that so?
And we're still going to get to your
Psychospiritual
institute. And you know some of those aspects that should be confidential. So that's why I said there's no way I'm going to talk about how I'm coping without you coming. The privilege of being able to call anytime and just be open and all of that. Initially, I was trying to live in denial. I thought the best approach was to insulate myself and numb myself, and stop listening.
Stop watching news.
Absolutely, and pretend I'll have my sanity.
Ignorance is bliss.
Enjoy the bliss of ignorance. Thank you. So, and you are also a media guru. You have summarized it so much. So I tried that, and it didn't work. The shock of all of those occurrences, which are happening faster than the media can capture.
Correct.
And now the media is being gagged they've been told, don't even report everything you have.
Yes.
And choose your words.
More things are happening than the media can carry.
Absolutely.
And yet, the media
one they can carry, they're told not to carry everything.
Wow.
So I got a point. So I said, okay, it's better I should just be enjoying the joy of the Lord. You did a program about
the joy of the gospel.
The joy of the gospel and all of that. And then this horrific happening, of course, came to my room and said, you can't hide. And one of the soldiers that was shot in Borno happened to be a baby that I dedicated.
Oh.
And a Sunday before I got the report, he was shot and was left dead. They thought he was dead. He was in a pool of blood by the Boko Haram. I was saying, church, that what is affecting us is the psychology of saying it's happening far away. So
it's in the northeast.
Yes, in the northeast, and that's their problem. And I said that is indicative that we're in spiritual darkness.
Sure.
Because when you are in the dark, what is close to you, you think is far.
Yes.
And then you'll be afraid of what is far. You'll be assuming it may be close. So, and I said because the people being killed, whether they're Christian or Muslim, are part of us. And then the following Sunday, the parent walked to my office and said, our son that you dedicated as a baby. Also, and I mean, they see the wound and all of the.
Then you now saw that the problem is here.
I couldn't run away from it. So we can go on and on. So the trauma, it sometimes it challenges one's spirituality, because you begin to say, God, we have been calling, where are you?
Pastor Sam, what you are saying now is, when I began this interview and asked you, I was thinking that we were going to discuss your responses to traumatize people in your church. But you are telling me that you yourself...
I'm a chief patient. Right. So it challenged faith. So it created the crisis of faith for me, because you only minister from what God has ministered to you from your experience. It's not that we drop from heaven. And
we are part of this.
We're part of it. So that's where I'm able to understand what my people are going through.
Yes.
So I realize everything I'm going through is just a little part of what they are going through, because I'm more privileged.
Yes.
The type of relationship and connection I have, they don't.
Yes.
And the privileges. And my wife used to say to me, you have to know that there's what we're enjoying that our parishioners are not enjoying.
Correct.
So I now knew that their problem is more than what I was experiencing.
Yes. Because I have some buffer.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so their problem was, some people now begin to wonder, does God still answer prayer? Their faith is being challenged. Of course, economy is crushed. I mean, people that used to be supportive
are not able to help themselves.
We have to help them to feed, Father.
Thank you.
We have to help them to feed. Except you want to be, what do you call it now? You're either a shepherd or a hireling.
A hireling, okay. Yeah. If you want to be a hireling, then you won't feel the sheep.
No, you won't.
Pope Francis says that pastors must smell the sheep.
Oh my goodness.
They must smell the sheep to show that they are with the sheep.
Yeah.
They must smell.
And they were originally part of the sheep. That's where they were picked
But if you are a hireling, you may not smell the sheep.
Yeah, so you can tell them, you better find how to take care of yourself. I'm secured and I have plan B to Z or whatever. I hope My brother was quoted out of context.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, but the question then was, if you are a shepherd, you can go. And I said, I have Catholic priests who I look up to and bishops that will never say that. I said that to the church. I said they are real shepherds. Anyway. So I know what the flock is going through by this process, and I have to say, how do I help their faith with my messages to say, it doesn't matter how dark it is here. God is constant.
It doesn't matter how dark it is.
He dwells in the light, to which no one can.
And I say to people that when it is midnight, dawn is near. Oh, sure. When it is midnight, it is an indication that dawn.
The darkest night is before dawn. Yes. So that's where hope comes in.
Yes.
And you have said to me, part of what we have to sell is hope.
It is hope.
When there is hopelessness.
Yes.
So, and then they begin to say, okay, you're giving me another perspective. Yeah. Then you reinforce their faith.
You know that this celebrated St. Francis of Assisi, grant me a channel of your, make me a channel of your peace. Where there is despair, let me sow your hope. You see, let me bring your hope where there is despair.
Those are saints whose impact transcends generation.
Yes. So, all of us who are Christian leaders, both clerics and lay people, all of us are supposed to be champions of Christian hope.
Absolutely.
In the midst of this darkness.
Absolutely. And when we experience that hope and embrace and hold tight to that hope, regardless of all that is happening and the variables, we can extend it beyond the Christian world.
Of course.
Through our initiative, which should be means of bridge building to society, to connect them and to say, hey, it's dark, it's ruthless out there, there is injustice, there is insensitivity of people in power, but God is God, and we can see
when you are a champion of hope.
That's right.
When you go selling hope to people, it is not only those of your flock that will embrace the hope.
Absolutely.
People need to be given hope. I just told you before we got into this discussion that if I were not a believer, I would have perhaps committed suicide long ago.
I will have.
No doubt. But on account of my faith, I mean, living in this country, I had a chat, an interview, one of my interviews with Dr. Anthony Okoregbe that you know, and he says that Nigeria is a large chamber of trauma.
Absolutely.
Chamber. So there is a chamber, but inside the chamber is trauma.
Like a laboratory of trauma.
It is trauma.
It's trauma. Yeah, we are trauma.
And my brother, Father Richard, says that in Nigeria, that perhaps now we shouldn't be talking about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
We should be speaking about ongoing trauma. Because we're not speaking of trauma that has passed.
We are not out of the trauma. It's ongoing.
It continues. So, and then you who are a church leader now.
And people look up to you.
People look up to you. What happened to you that you just described? That's why I say you need to speak with Father Richard seriously, because he specializes in the trauma of the pastor.
That's Father Richard Ehusani.
Yes. The trauma of the pastor.
Okay.
Who happens to listen to people narrate their traumatic stories and how it eventually affects the pastor. And with many pastors not knowing that they are going down.
With the narrative they're taking in.
With the narrative they are taking in.
Absolutely.
Because you are indirectly being traumatized by when that family came, the child you dedicated, when that family came and told you that this young man has been shot in Maiduguri.
Yes. And I saw the bullet hole.
Good. Yeah. So the trauma they were suffering as parents, you as auxiliary parents, you are carrying it.
It came on me.
It came on you. Yeah. Not to talk of the fact that your son, who was part of NSAS, was being traumatized with what happened on October 20th.
He missed that night of the shooting. That was the only night he missed. He would have been there.
Yes. So it means that what your son was suffering because of what has happened to his colleagues,
that's right,
you are also carrying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So apart from watching the news, apart from hearing what is happening all over the place, in your house, you are
traumatized. So is my wife and everybody, and we can go on and on. So that's why I said to talk about how I'm helping people to cope. I have to tell you first how I'm coping, and it's just been the grace and the mercy of God. And I think God ordained, arranges strategic relationship. Somewhere in the book of Malachi says that in the last days, in the climax of the ages, that those who fear God, we need to speak to one another often.
That's what is called networking. that's what modern leadership gurus call networking.
It says they need to speak to one another often, because it said then people will be saying, where is justice? Where is God? Where is it? Those who fear God, if they don't speak to one another, and Hebrew reaffirmed that. He said we should exhort one another daily. Every day we wake up and say, it's another day.
Yes.
If we don't, there are things that are happening to bring us down.
Yes.
But it's compounded when you are receiving attitude of indifference or numbness. Dr. Tony that you spoke with,
yes,
we're in the same hotel and in the same team.
Yeah, you have had the chat, yes.
So we had the chat, and he was telling me this, and we said, the point is that even our political elites and the political leadership in this country, they are having mental health issues. Whether they were traumatized or other issues contributed.
Tell me, who is not having mental issues in Nigeria?
We're at different stages of the spectrum.
It's a
Some
spectrum.
are the point of suicide.
Some are the point that they should be, they should just be carried to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital. Others need to be chatted with.
Absolutely.
But every Nigerian is at one stage or the other in the mental ill health spectrum.
Because if you are living in denial, that's part of it.
That is.
If you are numb and in sense it doesn't bother you anymore.
It's
a
symptom. Yes.
It's a symptom.
If for example, you are able to carry on,
as if nothing is happening,
and go dance around and go whatever, it's an evidence that
there's problem.
you are, and to live in denial is a mental illness.
Absolutely. And thank you, through reflection and all other initiatives, for keeping these issues at the front burner.
I mean, by the grace of God, we have to.
In your homilies, in your poems, in your writings, by the way, you can't be an authority without being an author. So that's why I'm not flattering when I say I get back the poems, get back to the books, and then the homilies, the reflection with different guests, and you just keep bringing this and telling us we must bring the authentic, balanced gospel.
If we don't, we are destroying the possibility of the world embracing in a permanent manner the message of the gospel. Because you see, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all of the time.
Absolutely.
So, at this time, if there was ever a time that we really need the authentic gospel, this is the time.
This is the time.
Because we are on the verge of a total loss of hope. And if we continue the way we were before, especially if some of our brothers and sisters continue the commercial gospel.
Yeah, commercial gospel, the gospel of prosperity.
People's eyes will be open.
Absolutely.
I mean,
people's eyes are being open.
People's eyes are being open, and they are going to say no, because this is the time of the gospel of service. This is a time of preaching the authentic gospel of service, of humility, of commitment to the common good. So, if everything were going on well, if we were Sweden or Denmark, then we focus on just go to heaven.
That's right. That is in place. Everything is working.
Yeah. Then we remind them that please, so you need.
It's so good, but this is not
it's very good here, but please remember heaven.
That's right.
But when things are the way it is today, I have a German friend. He called me last week. He said he's hearing all that is going on in Nigeria, and he said actually he was making a joke. He said he really believes that Nigeria, because he was here, he worked in the German embassy in Nigeria.
Correct.
He says that Nigerians are having some of their hell now.
Absolutely.
So that if God is to be fair, what he says, if God is to be fair, that few Nigerians should go to the other hell because he considers this one.
Father, did you hear the comedy that people died and went to hell, and they wanted to call home, call their family? They were given the privilege, and they were making call. The American call, and it was giving the bill. The Europeans call, they were giving the bill. Their bill was very exorbitant. And when the Nigerian called,
it was local call.
It was local. So the brother who protested that why is his own cousin so little, and they said he's making local call. To home from
sad home. I mean, a sad comedy, sad commentary on our situation.
Absolutely.
But back to what we are discussing. Your messages, your daily, weekly messages. How do you reflect on this so as to help people? I mean, Father Dominic did say to you when we talked to Father Dominic yesterday that he follows you
on social media.
So how do you reflect this hope, this message to strengthen people, this comfort, compassion?
Absolutely. You've spoken about the authentic gospel, and the authentic gospel is directly opposite of
the prosperity gospel.
Prosperity gospel, which is Christianity without cross. You know, when you remove the cross from Christianity,
it's empty. It's empty.
But with the cross, you realize that this is, by reason of incarnation, this is God in human flesh who suffered the worst injustice for no fault of his, and was embracing the cross as the will of God. And he didn't feel that it wasn't prospering, so because he didn't have faith or he's not godly, he knew this is the will of God. And had hope and assurance of resurrection. So the challenge of not preaching the authentic gospel is that, like you said, you are giving a fraud to people and you end up offering them nothing. So what I try to do is to let them know, everything we're experiencing,
God has a hand.
He has a hand. He's aware. As a matter of fact, the devil is not the one calling the shot. He can only go as far as God permits him. And God is going to use the darkness as a backdrop to reflect his glory, to reflect the light. So that this is not where it's going to end.
This is not. Absolutely.
And then, of course, in the midst of it, you are putting hope, strengthening their faith. So I'm always
and with your catalyst for peace and justice, you are supporting those that need support.
I was going there. So this is where actually my journey and pilgrimage to the Roman Catholic, world was through this initiative of Catalyst for Peace and Justice initiative. When the Lord gave me the inspiration with some others, I was looking for a role model. And I couldn't find them, in my constituency.
Immediate constituency.
Absolutely. So I was directed to Reverend Father in Ijebu, John Patrick,
yes.
And he's a veteran in that world. And from there, I was directed to Terra. I was directed to Bishop Kuka. I went to Bishop. He hosted me. You have to take me back because I ran away because I wasn't prepared for the assignments he had for me. I felt I still needed more nurturing. But the way I was receiving you and Father Dominic. So the initiative now help us to bring the balance. That we're not just trying to strengthen faith and give hope. We're dealing with the felt need of the people.
And that dealing with the felt need of the people is a constitutive part of preaching the gospel. You see, the Catholic Church had a synod in 1971.
That's right.
And that synod came out with a declaration. The synod, the title of the report of the synod is called Justice in the World, De Justitia in Mundo. And it says, work for justice and for the development of people is a constitutive part of evangelization or the preaching of the gospel.
Absolutely.
That from that moment we were being taught to say, look, it is not an optional extra. That look, after preaching the gospel, I help the poor. It's not an external.
It's not an option.
No,
it's not an appendix.
It's not an appendage. It is a constitutive part. Means it is
An integral part.
Thank you. So you either use the word constitutive or integral.
part.
It means it is part of what makes the preaching of the gospel.
Absolutely.
So
it's another way of preaching the gospel.
yes. So Jesus Christ saw the crowds following him, and he looked at them, and they were like sheep without shepherd. He set at length to teach them, and when they were hungry, he fed them. It's part of it.
Whether he was teaching or feeding them,
He was
communicating.
He was doing the godly work.
Absolutely.
Good. So you go to church, your church, and you preach about godliness, about heaven, about whatever. And then you come out of church and they tell you, oh, this woman lost her husband and whatever. And you reach out to support. If you can't support yourself, you call for help. And
Children that can't feed everywhere, displaced
all
people.
that you are doing one work. It's one work. It's one work.
It's one.
So you're preaching in the realm of glory.
Yeah.
Your work in catalyst for peace and justice.
CPJ.
It is one. You can't separate it.
That's what I'm realizing more. And then when I came around, every time I come around and you don't hold back, you just showcase, you just show me everything that you are doing. And of course, you don't blow your trumpet, since they say it's empty barrel that make the loudest noise. For me, it's like a pilgrimage. Then I told my wife yesterday, after the session I said, we're on track. I said, oh, now I realize nothing's wrong with us.
No, absolutely.
Whether we're adopting children that are abandoned,
absolutely,
or whatever we're doing. So I said to people that when Jesus said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach the gospel.
See the things he said.
Yeah,
the Spirit of the Lord is upon me here. He has sent me to preach the gospel, to preach the good news to the poor, to open the eyes of the blind.
And bind the brokenhearted.
Bind the brokenhearted, to liberate the captives.
The captive.
So if your son was involved in the NSAS protest,
or in the kidnapped kids, if he's one of the people kidnapped,
then it means he was part of doing the work of Jesus to liberate captives.
Well, okay. So he was doing the ministry of Jesus.
He was doing part of your ministry. It's part of your ministry he was doing there.
Absolutely.
On this note, we need to bring this segment of our discussion to an end. I have been speaking with Pastor Sam Aiyedogbon, General Overseer of the Realm of Glory Church. He has branches in Lagos, branches in Abuja, and all over the place. And we have been friends for many years now and have been supporting one another, especially in our work on social justice and peace. And Nigeria needs a lot of that. And like you said, quoting from Malachi, that such people who are committed in this area need to support themselves.
Reinforce.
They
can't do it alone.
themselves. They say, you know, as I came to your workshop, there was a passage I just remember when I left you.
Oh my!
The passage of Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are empowered, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan.
Hey.
So when you get back, tell them that you see, if people in authority are righteous,
that's right.
Whether it's in authority as husband, in authority as a senior prefect in a secondary school,
that's right, or police,
in
law
in
enforcement,
as police, people will rejoice.
Yes.
But when you see people groaning,
that's right,
crying, suffering,
and violence everywhere is abuse of power. That's the code you came to give us at the workshop.
So we need to support one another towards the emergence of people in authority at various levels who will be righteous, so that the people will rejoice.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you very much, and thanks, viewers. We shall meet again and discuss some more. There's a lot to discuss for the furtherance of peace in our country.
I'm inspired. I'm strengthened. Thank you, Father.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.